This is easily the most slept on anime of the entire year. When I say that this anime has some of the most best action I've seen so far, coming from some of the most talented animators that Wit Studio has to offer, I am not lying. Yaiba Samurai Legend has just been blowing my socks off in terms of animation for multiple weeks straight at this point. And while most fans will say, the budget is really carrying, or Wit Studio always cooks, you can always trust them to just put down the good stuff, it's important to remember that while these factors are very vital, they aren't actually the end-all be-all for why an anime looks the way it does, why the action flows the way it does. What really ends up mattering the most are the people working on it. That seems kind of obvious, but let's break it down, like take this random cut from the Pokemon anime. Do you notice some of the erratic timing that's going on with Ash's movements, the smearing that doesn't have a lot of outlines, the use of heavy impact frames? All of this blends together to really put emphasis on certain parts of the motion, which just makes the entire thing shine, and which really makes this stand out as a highlight amongst the entire anime. Plus, the perspectives used in this are just top tier. Okay, now check out this cut from the Uma Musume Pretty Derby movie, which was weirdly my favorite sports anime of 2024, but anyway, are you noticing any patterns? Lack of outlines, a lot of smears, some cool perspectives used. Yep, that's right. Both of these cuts were worked on by Takashi Mainami, a Yoyogi animation student who graduated in 2009 but then spent the rest of his years working at his parents' restaurant until 2018, when he started working as an animator at Wit Studio and just doing a lot of projects in between. That's kind of an insane lore to have, but goddamn does it make sense, because he is cooking in every single one of his cuts. Get this man an Iron Chef. I know that Beef Wellington is going to be just as solid as his animation. Why am I bringing him up specifically? Well, it's because he is on an insane amount of cuts on the anime Yaiba, which is just bringing absolute heat to the table. And if you watch what he contributes to the show, you can clearly tell that he's bringing the techniques that he loves to employ right there in broad daylight. It's that kind of signature stroke that every artist has, and this is something that AI just can't replicate. It's that human touch that lets you appreciate anime even more, and Yaiba is just filled with that. But he is just one of many animators. As you know, it takes a lot of animators to bring an anime to life. Converting manga still frames to a moving, flowing sequence is a lot of work. And what if I were to tell you that no matter how many of the animators I looked up for Yaiba, almost every single one of them has done some absolutely insane work on other huge profile projects in the past. Another great example of an animator on here is Claire Launay. She is a French animator who worked on, that first cut that I showed from Pokemon, and is also featured on Yaiba. She has a lot of really, really fun moments and amazing character acting combined with great timing in this moment. One of my favorite cuts is from when she worked on Osama Ranking. This is another Wit Studio anime, and her use of perspective and timing is it's so fluid and amazing. And you can see this brought over to Yaiba in an amazing way. Really, if you just like Wit Studio's previous works and how their animation is almost always solid, you will definitely like Yaiba, at least from an action standpoint. Plus, there's a lot of great moments, a retro art style that is taken straight from the same mangaka who made the classic Detective Conan, and it's just pure fun as a show. It feels like a throwback shonen in a very comforting way. It's not reinventing the wheel, but it's also doing everything that a shonen should do pretty well. And the plot is very simple. It's about our main character Yaiba, who's this little twerp that grew up in the jungle just fighting gorillas and tigers. Then he pisses off a prodigy swordsman named Onimaru at a local school so much that the dude just starts using a demon sword that gives him insane powers, and is like, you know what, I might as well just take over Japan at this point and become the supreme ruler. He busts down the doors to the Congress of Japan or whatever, and is like, yeah, I'm taking this shit over right now. And so begins Yaiba's quest to stop Onimaru, but honestly, Yaiba was such a nuisance at the beginning that I don't even blame Onimaru for crashing out like he did. I mean, seriously, the kid is constantly bugging him to battle, he steals his kendo equipment, tricks him into falling into a hole, and it's kind of a dick move. I mean, honestly, if I were Onimaru, I would have done the same thing. I would be taking over Japan, but I don't know. Fuck Yaiba. That's all I'm gonna say. The only thing about the show that feels a little off and kind of a little weird is the, dated pervert humor. Like Yaiba walking in on people changing or just being kind of weird. But those are generally far and few between, so I'm not super miffed about it. But, you know, if that kind of bugs you, just keep that in mind. It does kind of show the age of the source material sometimes. But overall, I think I would have loved to watch this as a kid, like when I first got into anime. At the same time, it's able to keep my TikTok-fueled dopamine-starved brain captive because the animation just never lets up. It really does feel like every single episode the animators were like, let's do something different, let's do something really, really cool and awesome that hasn't been done in previous episodes. Okay, like check out Hiroki Takagi's work on this cut with a ton of impact frames. It happens when our main character Yaiba is finally able to control the Raijin sword. This is a sword that is kind of the opposite to what Onimaru has. And the animation just really emphasizes the lightning coursing through his body by using smears in a very creative way. And if you look at Takagi's work on other shows like My Hero Academia, you can see that he's a master of showing motion through smear frames. It feels like it's really moving, and it's the beauty of animation, right? There are thousands of other examples just like this throughout the entire show, and just had me blown away each time I sat down to watch an episode. Ultimately, I'm kind of surprised that more people haven't been watching it. I haven't seen anyone really recommend the show, and honestly, from my perspective, I think Yaiba was the best anime of spring 2025, maybe only behind Apothecary Diary Season 2, which is saying a lot. I guess what I'm trying to say with this video is that Yaiba is a great example of letting your animators shine with each of their cuts, not only having moments to, serve the general plot, but also to just wow the viewer with the visuals, keep them engaged, keep them hooked all the way through, not really letting off the gas at all, and just really being concise and consistent with what you're trying to do. And even though, animation isn't the end-all be-all for a show, I think for a fun action comedy like Yaiba, it's a very, very core important piece that needs to be done correctly, and I'm glad it's getting that special treatment from WIT. It honestly gives me a lot of hope for the new One Piece reboot that WIT Studio is doing, especially seeing how well they're treating the Yaiba manga, giving it all that polish that it deserves. But yeah, honestly, if WIT goes crazy with One Piece the same way they're doing with Yaiba right now, just how dynamic the movement is while being faithful to the manga pacing, I mean, genuinely, I would love to watch that. I'm so excited for the WIT Studio One Piece reboot. But yeah, anyway, check out Yaiba. It's on Netflix. Also, I did want to mention that I will be going to Anime Expo 2025 in LA this coming weekend. If you're going, hit me up on Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever, or just find me in person. This is going to be my first anime convention, so super excited to get in. I mean, I've been watching anime for a decade, but just never went to a convention for some reason. It's going to be a first one. Super excited to spend a lot of money on stuff I don't need, but anyway, peace.